Hello everyone, it's time for chapter 2 of Malcolm, the Boy Who Can Talk to Dogs by Karen Bayley, read by me, Joe Lycett. The following morning I woke up with a really bad headache. Had I imagined it all? Surely dogs can't communicate with humans, and if they can, just imagine all the things they've overheard and all the secrets they must know. Maybe that's why people say dogs are a man's best friend. They've spoken to them before. Whilst all this was swimming round my head, my thoughts were disrupted by my mum shouting up the stairs. "Malcolm, are you ever going to get up? Your breakfast is going cold." Ever since Dad's disappearance, Mum seems to have a lot less patience, and me, being an only child, means that I'm the one getting it in the neck. I miss Dad too, and it seems unfair that Mum is taking it out on me. I hurried downstairs and started to gobble down my breakfast. "Malcolm, you're going to make yourself sick eating that quickly. What's the hurry?" "I'm meeting Freddie in the park in 10 minutes, I mumbled, spraying crumbs everywhere. Freddie is my best friend. I don't have loads and loads of friends, but as friends go, you can't get a better friend than Freddie. We met at nursery school. His mum was shouting across the playground, "Frederick, come here and give your mummy a kiss." I remember thinking, great, there are other people with weird old-fashioned names like me. Thing is, I'd misheard. Freddie is a girl. His, or should I say her mother, was actually calling Frederica, sorry. At the time, I did think it was quite weird that a girl had responded to Frederick. Apparently, Frederica's mum was convinced she was having a boy and had already chosen the name. When a girl popped out, she rather lazily, in my opinion, just took off the K and added an A, hence the name Frederica. If you think about it, people do it all the time. Paul to Paula, Michael to Michaela, Adrian to Adriana. Freddie and I think this is hilarious, and we often make up our own. John, Jonna, Jack, Jacka. But our favourite is Stan to Stanner, which if you Google it, you'll find is one of those chair lifts that help old people get up and down stairs. "Come on, Stanner, help Granny up the stairs." The advantage that Freddie has is that she can shorten Frederica to Freddie, and it sounds really cool. I can't shorten my name to Malky. Sounds like a breakfast cereal, like an advert on the telly. "No time for breakfast, I hear you shout. Grab a Malky bar for when you're out and about." Or a washing powder. "Tricky marks ruining your day. Malky will blow those stains away." Ever since that day at nursery, Freddie and I have hardly been apart. We just get each other. We like the same things and find the same things funny. Like when Mary tripped over Joseph in the school nativity, knocking the baby Jesus' head off. I should mention here that it was a doll. A man in the front row caught it and someone shouted, "Out!" like at a cricket match. I couldn't wait to tell Freddie about what had happened with Uncle George and Curtis. I knew she'd believe me. When I got to the park, Freddie was already there sitting on the swings with a yo-yo. This is another thing I love about Freddie. She always likes to do more than one thing at once. Most people would swing on a swing or play with a yo-yo. Freddie was doing both. Every time the swing came down, she would throw the yo-yo out and catch it. Typical Freddie. She can hum and sing at the same time, play the guitar with one hand and drum with the other, and my personal favourite, burp and talk. This always makes me snort with laughter, especially when she meets someone for the first time and pretends this is her normal way of talking. Freddie jumped off the swing and ran towards me. She was wearing her bright orange duffel coat that clashed with her red cap. All she needed was a pair of green wellies and she'd have looked like a set of traffic lights. "What you been up to?" "Not much." I was dying to tell her, but couldn't launch into it straight away. It's not something you can just slip into conversation. "Oh, just chatting to my uncle's dog." Then I had a brainwave. I'll show her. Thing was, I didn't know whether it was just Curtis I could talk to or any dog. Only one way to find out. "See that dog over there?" I asked. "Which one?" "The dog with the blue coat and the big ears." She scanned the park. "Oh, isn't he cute?" "Well, watch this." I concentrated really hard, all the time staring at the dog. I must have looked really weird. What could I ask it to do that would prove it was me? Then I remembered Freddie and I always love it when dogs chase their tails. We love the way they go round and round in circles trying to catch the furry thing on the end of their body. Every now and again, they catch it and just stand there with it hanging out their mouth like a hairy donut. "Hello, you don't know me. Can you do me a favour, please?" The dog looked up, ears pricked, not knowing quite what had happened. He looked round, trying to find out who had spoken to him. He eventually spotted me staring at him. Was that you? Did you just talk to me? Yes, sorry to disturb you, but could you do me a favour, please? Why? And how come you're talking to me? Long story. I want to show my friend I can talk to you. Why? Who do you think I am? Some sort of performing monkey? To be fair, that is a good question. I didn't realise that dogs could be so bolshy, but he did have a point. If a random stranger came up to me and asked me to do something, I'd tell him to get lost. Then I realised I had a dog biscuit in my pocket that I always carried for Curtis. I've got a dog biscuit in my pocket. You can have that if you like. Whoopee-doo! A whole dog biscuit just for me? Wow. Not only do dogs understand sarcasm, they use it. This talking to dogs thing was certainly a revelation. You'd think most dogs would be happy to help out. I mean, they're always wagging their tails. I wasn't going to give up. I was desperate to show Freddie what I could do. Okay, what would you like then? I'd be really grateful. Okay, here's the deal. If I do something for you, will you tell my owner to stop making me wear this stupid coat? Why? It's a very nice coat. Are you for real? I have amazing fur. How can I pull the ladies wearing this? He had a point. He did have lovely, shiny fur. I hadn't realised that dogs objected to having coats put on them, especially if they kept them warm. But then I remembered my great-aunt Maud, who kept knitting me jackets at Christmas and birthdays. My mum made me wear them, and I hated it. You get to a certain age where Thomas the Tank Engine becomes really embarrassing. Last birthday, she gave me one with a fat controller on. Rude. I had no idea how I was going to tell the owner, but would deal with that later. Meanwhile, Freddie was getting impatient. What do you want to show me? And why are you staring at that dog? Would you be impressed if I could make that dog do something? Depends what it is. If it's just sit or paw, then probably not. Any dog can do that. This was going to be trickier than I first thought. What if I'd picked a stupid dog? Do you think you can chase your tail? Of course I can. But that'd make me look ridiculous. I have an IQ of 130. Oh, so he wasn't so stupid. Good. Maybe I could ask him to sit my sats for me. Well, what can you do? Get this coat off me and I'll do anything. I had an idea. If this dog could do what I wanted him to do, Freddie would have to believe me. I explained what I had in mind. Ha ha ha, piece of cake. He walked towards Freddie and plonked himself in front of her. Wow, very impressive. There was a lot of sarcasm flying around today. Okay, Sarky, he hasn't done anything yet. Do you still have that yo-yo in your pocket? Yes, why? Can you give it to him, please? What? Freddie, just give him the yo-yo. We haven't got long. The owner will notice he's gone. Fortunately, the owner was chatting away on her mobile phone and hadn't noticed her precious pooch had wandered off. Freddie slowly put her hand in her pocket, took out the yo-yo and held it out flat on her palm. The dog sniffed it, then tenderly took it from her hand and placed it on the floor. Good so far. Using his tongue, he carefully turned it over until he could grasp the string between his teeth and jaw. Quick as a flash, he whipped his head back, and the yo-yo flew out in a big arc. Just as it reached its full length, the dog flipped his head the other way, pulling the yo-yo back in. He did this a few more times as if to prove it wasn't a fluke. When the yo-yo was wound back in, he dropped it on the floor in front of an open-mouthed Freddie. I've never really understood the saying that someone's jaw drops. However, I did now. Freddie's jaw couldn't get any lower if she'd laid on the floor and put it there. She then let out a loud whoop and jumped up and down, clapping her hands. What's the matter with her? Never seen a dog yo-yo before? Wow, Malcolm, that's amazing! Did you teach him to do that? No, I just asked him to do something that would show you that I can talk to him. Talk to him? How? I didn't hear you say anything. I explained what happened with Curtis and the poo incident, how he had sent me messages that appeared in my head, and I'd found that I could send them back. Most people would have laughed in my face, but not Freddie. She believed me. I could tell by the look on her face, and now she'd seen proof. This is brilliant. You could go on telly. You could become famous. Malcolm, the boy that can talk to dogs. Make loads of money, live in a big house with a swimming pool and have a room that you could make into a cinema. Freddie, you could buy a massive car and Freddie, we could go on holiday every week. Freddie! What? I'm not sure I want anyone else to know. Well, not yet anyway. No one will believe me. A lot of people thought I was a bit odd. The last thing I wanted was another reason for Tom, yep, him again, to mock me. The dog had finished playing with the yo-yo and was now sat looking at me. What a beautiful dog. Freddie started stroking his head. I could tell he'd taken a shine to her. Most animals do. The owner had finally finished her phone call and realised her dog was missing. Benji! Benji, where are you? The dog looked at me and rolled his eyes. Oh, and that's another thing I hate. My name, Benji. Sounds like a child's toy. Don't suppose you can help with that too? Now, that's something I do understand. Why? What's your name? Did you not hear my friend say it? Malcolm. The dog's jowls twitched. It looked like he was trying not to laugh. He was actually going to laugh. Are you laughing at my name? No. Oh, she's coming over. Please try. I'm not Harry Potter. Of course you're not. You haven't got a wand. The woman rushed over. Oh, there you are. I've been looking for you everywhere. She turned to me and Freddie. Thank you so much for finding him. I've been mad with worry. The dog hadn't taken his eyes off me. Hardly. She's been gassing on her phone for ages. Remember your promise, Malcolm. I hadn't promised, but I knew I had to at least try. I cleared my throat. He's such a handsome dog. What a beautiful coat. The woman beamed. Thank you so much. I knitted it myself. Yeah, look at all the holes in it. More like a fishing net than a coat. Shh, I'm trying to work out what to say. Ah, yes, it's beautiful. I particularly like the hole effect. Damn. I hadn't meant to say that. Good one. That was your fault. Let me try again. I was talking about the dog's coat. I mean, his fur, it's so shiny. It seems a shame to cover it up. I bet you could put him in a dog show. He'd win prizes and everything. The dog rolled his eyes so much they almost disappeared round the back of his head. All right, don't overdo it, mate. Do you want me to help you or not? The woman looked thoughtful. I hadn't thought of that. He does have marvellous fur. But he loves his coat, don't you, Benji? The dog cringed. I felt a pang of sympathy. His name shortened was just as bad as mine. Benji, is that his name? I tried to look surprised. It's just that he reminds me of a champion dog I used to know called Ralph. Really, Ralph? That's a nice name. She looked closely at Benji. You do look like a bit of a Ralph. Benji, or Ralph, wagged his tail. Oh, you like it? Benji Ralph barked and wagged his tail more. She turned and smiled at me and Freddie. I only got him last week from the dog's home. I called him Benji after my budgie. Benji looked really annoyed. Budgie? She named me after a blinking budgie. She continued. Benji was my beautifully coloured budgie. He'd sit on his perch saying, who's a pretty boy, to anyone who would listen. Her eyes welled up with tears. But then he died suddenly. I'm so sorry. Was he ill? Freddie asked. Oh no, it was a dreadful accident, all my fault. She sniffed and took a tissue out, wiping her eyes. I always let him out to have a little flutter around the lounge. One day I let him out as usual. He flew around for a while, then landed on a vase on a high shelf. I was worried that he wouldn't come back to his cage, so I called him. He jumped off the vase and flew down onto the carpet. A second later, the vase he just jumped from toppled over as well and hit him on the head. The last thing he said was, who's a pretty... He never even finished his sentence. She was sobbing now. I didn't know where to look. I'm always embarrassed when adults cry. The woman took a deep breath. Thank you, young man. You've given me a lot to think about. Benji is an unlucky name. I didn't want to point out it was hardly likely that Benji the dog would fly around the room and knock a vase off the wall. However, after what was happening to me, flying dogs didn't seem that far-fetched. The woman carefully undid the dog's coat and popped it in her bag. Ralph it is, then. Come on, Ralph. Let's get you home and ready for those dog shows. There you go. No coat and a new name. I've worked a miracle. I was amazed that I'd managed both things, and it hadn't been that hard. The new Ralph was far from happy. Bloomin' dog shows? Thanks a lot. 2 baths a day, and knowing her, a frilly beau. Good grief. How ungrateful. This talking to dogs malarkey was proving to be hard work. It was just increasing the number of people and dogs having a go at me. Freddie was still looking at me with her mouth open. Oi, Venus flytrap, close your mouth. Malcolm, this is unbelievable. Amazing, incredible. She'd run out of words. We have to decide what you're going to do with this new talent. We'll be back for chapter 3.